If you wish to be heard, please sign the sheet over there on the right or your left. Mrs. Green, please call the roll.
Councilman Smalls.
Here.
Mr. Walford.
Here.
Mr. Wilson.
Here.
Ms. Parker. Chairwoman Bettman. Acting Chairman Kish.
Here.
You have a quorum, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Has everybody been able to review the minutes from the last meeting of April the 11th, 2017? And do you have any changes to the minutes? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll move to approve the April 11th minutes as submitted by staff. And thank you to staff for doing it. I know it's a big job to get these out every month. Thank you.
Second.
Mr. Wilson.
Yes.
Mr. Walford.
Yes.
Chairman Kish.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Agenda item number 3. We have an application for the special exception application number 869-13700, Baltimore Avenue. It's for the Fairfield Inn, filed by T-Mobile, for recommendations to the Board of Appeals. Mr. Grace, are you going to?
Yes. All right, good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. The applicant, T-Mobile, is seeking special exception approval to install 6 panel antennas and 1 microwave dish and associated support equipment, including an equipment cabinet, on the roof of the Fairfield Inn by Marriott, located at 13700 Baltimore Avenue. The property is zoned Industrial Research Technology Park, and the property is bordered by Industrial Research Technology Park to the north and south, Industrial Commercial Service to the west, and Prince George County to the east. The property was constructed in 1988 and is zoned industrial. Property was constructed in 1988. Staff recommends that the City of Laurel Planning Commission recommend approval to the City of Laurel Board of Appeals for special exception number 869 with the following conditions. The applicant shall provide a letter from a structural engineer stating that the roof can't support the load of the proposed telecommunications facility. Number 2, the applicant must provide a letter from a structural engineer stating installation as per plans. And number 3, the applicant shall obtain appropriate City of Laurel permits prior to the installation of the telecommunications facility. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Grant.
Mr. Chairman, I don't have any questions on this. I do have a broader question on these. We deal with a number of these a year, and I know they're required to come before us, but if they're in the IRTP or the commercial zone and staff has reviewed them, is there a way just to make it easier on the applicants and on everybody else to do this as a technical? Would there be a way to do that? Because I think we've approved everyone in the 10 years I've been here.
Yeah, good evening. The only reason this is before you because there's currently no antennas on this site. If this site already had antennas, then we would have administratively approved it. They just would have had to do building permits.
Okay.
And electrical permits, sir.
So it's the first time on the building and then we go from there?
Right.
Okay. Thank you. I don't have any questions, Mr. Chairman, but I'll make a motion to recommend to the Board of Appeals approval of the special exception number 869 at 13700 Baltimore Avenue, filed by T-Mobile.
Do I have a second on that?
I'll second.
Mr. Wilson.
Yes.
Mr. Walford.
Yes.
Chairman Kish.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Moving right along. Agenda item number 4. It's the final plan of MXT application number 870 and resolution number 17-03-PC, 6901 Van Dusen Road, filed by Ribera Anderson's Corner, LLC. Items 4 5 and 6 are all going to be, Christian's going to, Ms. Pulley's going to put those all together and review them all now. Then we'll go from there.
Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. The applicant, Ribera LLC, has filed 3 applications simultaneously for Parcel B, the commercial component of Anderson's Corner, to construct an automobile filling station and convenience store to be known as Royal Farms, located at 6901 Van Dusen Road, Laurel, Maryland, 20707. The applications include MXT final site and landscape plan approval, special exception approval, and a sign waiver approval. The subject property was annexed into the city in 2008 and placed in the R5 zone. However, the applicant received map amendment approval to place the property in the MXT zone and received concept MXT plan approval on November 14, 2011. In the MXT zone, convenience store uses are permitted by right. However, automobile filling stations require special exception approval. The proposed Royal Farms development will include a 5,370 square foot convenience store on a 2.3 acre site, 8 multi-product gasoline dispenser units with 16 fueling pumps, 61 on-site parking spaces, an enclosed 8-cylinder dumpster and recycling container, designated sidewalks, appropriate utilities, landscaping, lighting, stormwater management, and drainage facilities as well. The use will operate 24 hours, 7 days per week. The applicant is proposing to install 9 signs on the property. The site will have a combination of freestanding, wall, canopy, and directional signs. The total amount of signage for the property will be 453.8 square feet. Signage for the MXT zone is approved at the time of final site and landscape plan approval. However, the applicant is seeking a sign waiver to have a 25-foot in height freestanding pylon sign on the property, which will read Royal Farms and illustrate the gas prices. The code, however, only allows for freestanding signs up to 20 feet in height. The proposed sign is consistent with other Royal Farm properties in similar proximity to highways that usually allow for better visibility to commuters, and the slightly larger sign will be seen from Cantera Drive off of Van Dusen Road. Excuse me. According to the needs analysis, there is a need for an automobile filling station for the proposed location in the city. The city has a population of approximately 26,215 residents. There currently is a great deal of new construction occurring, which will result in an increase of citizens. Between the West Side development, which is directly across the street from the proposed location, and Avalon Bay at Laurel at Anderson's Corner, will have 869 new residential dwelling units less than a mile away from the proposed automobile filling station. The proposed use will also provide services to the commuters and residents that frequent Van Dusen Road and Cantera Drive. In addition, the Royal Farms will catch travelers along the I-95 corridor. Currently, there are 10 automobile filling stations located in the city of Laurel. However, these sites are older, have smaller convenience stores, if one at all. If approved, this will be the first Royal Farms located within the city of Laurel. Therefore, it is recommended that the Planning Commission approve the final MXT site and landscape plan application number 870, contingent upon the applicant obtaining special exception approval. Staff also recommends that the Planning Commission approve the proposed freestanding pylon sign waiver contingent upon the applicant obtaining special exception approval from the City of Laurel Board of Appeals. Furthermore, it is recommended that the Planning Commission recommend approval of special exception application number 871 to the City of Laurel Board of Appeals with the following conditions. The applicant shall obtain all proper City of Laurel permits prior to construction of the automobile filling station and convenience store. The applicant shall adhere to obtain any necessary permits required by Maryland State Highway Administration for work conducted on the state-owned portion of Van Dusen Road. The applicant shall modify the island located on Anderson's Way to accommodate left turns exiting the property prior to the issuance of a use and occupancy permit. The applicant shall comply with all federal, state, local laws, regulations, and ordinances. All regulations as set forth in the City of Laurel noise ordinance must be followed at all times, and the convenience store portion of the development shall be sprinklered. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, questions for the staff? You have any questions for the staff?
No, I don't. Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Smiles.
I do have one question for staff. In Ms. Pulley, looking at the notifications, comments received from various departments and agencies, I'm curious how our city police chief's concern about ingress egress was addressed.
Correct. Yes, the police department as well as other departments had issues about the ingress egress. One of them was with coming out, turning left on Anderson's Way. Currently, there's an island there that you wouldn't be able to turn. However, they will have to modify that so passengers, cars, as well as the trucks will be able to turn left out of the convenience store, gas station on Anderson's Way to get back to Van Dusen Road. And on Van Dusen Road, you can only enter the property. You can't exit from there. So once that was explained to the police chief, the fire marshal, as well as the director of public works, everyone was okay with it.
And I'm just curious, as many of us know, we have a public safety citizens advisory committee. Had by chance any of this been a part of their agenda?
This application did not go to their agenda. To that commission.
Okay, all right. Thank you. That's all I have for now.
Mr. Wilson.
No, I don't have any questions. Thank you.
Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak? You want to state your name and address, please?
Sure. Good evening. My name is Eric DeVito. I'm representative of Ribera, Anderson's Corner, and Royal Farms in this application. The address is 1025 Thomas Jefferson Street, Northwest in Washington, D.C. I thank you all. Good evening. And I've been before you, but I don't know if you recognize the face. I've been in front of you before, and in particular on Anderson's Corner. In fact, it's been many, many years coming, and this is actually the final piece of this puzzle. It was a MXT project that's been in planning for many years, and this is that last commercial component. When the project was originally approved, it was approved with the apartment complex that is built and looking wonderful, and then this is the commercial piece on the corner that's coming along as part of that MXT application. So it'll be good to, get this up and running and complete the project. And I'd like to introduce some other folks that I have with me here tonight. We're not all going to speak unless you have questions, but I did at least want to introduce them because they came on down. And Jeff Framebridge in the green sweater here is representative of Royal Farms. If you have any particular questions about the actual facility or the services that they're going to provide, Jeff's probably the best person to answer those. Mark Keeley is our traffic consultant, traffic concept. Next to Mark is Ed Steer, who did the needs analysis, the analysis that showed basically that this use is in need in this particular area of the city. And actually the map that Christian put up, and I have another one in a packet I'm about to hand out in a minute, it shows that this really is, an area of the city where this type of use is not present right now. I have Tim Longfellow in the back row. He's our civil engineer. Next to Tim is John Stamato. He's representative of the developer, Ribera, Anderson's Corner. And then, of course, Mr. Bob DiPietro, I think all of you know. But,
Excuse me? Oh.
If you'd like, I have a few presentations here that might help just to walk through some things that I'll hand out.
Thank you.
Given Christian's presentation, I'm not going to basically bore you to death with a bunch of these things, but I thought there were a few things in here that would be worth walking through and pointing out. First two pages, obviously, are cover pages and tells you who the development team I just walked through on the second page. The third page is an aerial site plan, and I apologize. I actually had the site marked in on here, but for some reason when I printed it, it didn't show up. But if you look near the V in Van Dusen Road, that's the corner. That's where the site is located. There's Anderson's Way that comes in, all the apartment buildings. You can see all the rooftops up. It's a pretty recent aerial. And then that open plot of ground would be southwest of the V in Van Dusen Road. That is the site. Another interesting thing you can see from this aerial is Conti Road, new Conti Road's actually graded and cleared. You can see the location of new Conti Road coming right in there, and you can really get a feel for the road network around this area. You can see the west side development, obviously, in this aerial as well, and the amount of density that's coming along in this area of the city. The next, I would say, 4 pages, which I won't read every single word of this, but these are basically the legal requirements of getting a automobile filling station approved as a special exception in the city. And each of these points we go through in our application, not only in our application, which we did, but this is basically a summary of how we meet the special exception criteria that I would put forth and have accepted into the record. And it explains exactly how we meet those criteria. In addition to the general 5 criteria for special exceptions, there are also 8 specific criteria for automobile filling stations. That would be on the 3rd and 4th pages of those 4 pages of legal requirements. There are specific requirements for an automobile filling station about nuisance and accessibility and frontage and screening. And again, this is our explanation as to how this proposal, this site plan, this request meets the city's specific criteria for automobile filling station. As we mentioned before, we had to prepare a needs study. That's the item 8 in the criteria for automobile filling stations that Mr. Steer with Lippman Frizzell prepared. That is part of our application. It goes through, and if you turn to the next page, it is a blow-up of the City of Laurel service stations, that the same map that Christian has up there. But you can see where the subject property is, pretty much all by itself down in that part of the city where the concentration of gas stations and other uses are to the north and to the east of where we are proposing. So there really is not a very high concentration, and that's what enabled Mr. Steer to come to the conclusion that this certainly meets a need in the city. The next page is the competitive supply in a much broader area. And again, you can see in a much broader area, again, this subject property where this will be located is almost by itself. And again, another justification and the reason why Mr. Steer found that there was a need and it was met, satisfying the city's criteria. After that, we have some renderings of the Royal Farms facility, and Mr. Bainbridge has confirmed that this is basically the latest and greatest Royal Farms plan that they do build today. Again, if you have any additional specific questions on the layout of the plan, Mr. Bainbridge could address those, or I could address those. That would be the next. Those are 4 pages of the rendering. After that is an excerpt of the site plan that was submitted, and I point that out because that is a rendering of the Royal Farm sign that we're asking the sign waiver application for. That is what it would look like. It is needed, as Christian said, because this is going to be located near 95 and for commuter traffic to be seen. And also, it's going to be located, if you looked at some of the aerials again, the way this site lays out into the intersection of Conterra Drive and Van Dusen Road, it does sit back a bit. If you recall also, Ribera Anderson Corner was part of the TIF. We're actually proposing, the developer is proposing to install a Welcome to City Laurel sign in that green area right on the corner. So in order to do that, this Royal Farms sign is going to get pushed back in a way. So the extra height is needed actually just so it doesn't conflict with anything we're trying to do in the future on that site and to beautify the city of Laurel. With that, that runs through my formal presentation that I would like to put on the record for consideration, and I would welcome any additional comments, questions for me or anyone else in the team.
This may be more for staff, but I don't know where we are on the putting the fence around the trash containers. Is that on here?
Oh, for the trash enclosures? Yes, the trash enclosure must be enclosed. The dumpster must be enclosed, and they're going to have a recycle bin and a trash enclosure, and they're both going to be enclosed on site.
Okay, and that's in the drawings?
That is in the drawings.
Okay.
And Mr. Bainbridge just confirmed it will be a brick enclosure.
Brick enclosure, okay. No other questions, thank you.
Mr. Smalls?
Yes. Probably either Mr. DeVito or Mr. Bainbridge. My question is more to the design. of the building and primarily the finishes that are on the exterior of the building. I think this is a great project. I think it's a great location. But I'm always thinking Laurel first, and I'm always thinking high quality for Laurel, and not to undermine, what you're proposing here in terms of the appearance of the building. But I'll tell you, Google's a wonderful tool, and I've Googled Royal Farms and looked at images of Royal Farms in obviously other locations. And I heard in the presentation that this is the latest model, I guess I'll just use that word for lack of a better one. And I don't know if the commissioners would agree with me at all, but I see some buildings here that have brick facades versus the siding. Is the green siding the kind of finish that you're proposing?
It should be hardy board. Yeah, mix a stone on the bottom and hardy board.
Okay.
We've certainly done brick in locations. That's generally applied towards areas that require brick. But most people like our architecture we have here. We spend more, I think, on architecture than our competitors do. Mm-hmm. And I don't know what you saw in Google. We certainly have some older stores that we renovated as best we could, but we still have some efforts we have to do. But the newer stores, we spend a lot of money on that, and we can be lenient, I guess, a bit. We try to work with a town if need be, but we mostly get compliments on our image.
And again, I'm not downplaying this. I'm just thinking that perhaps, and I don't have a vote in this, the commissioners do, but I'm just rendering my opinion. They're the ones who will make the approval. But I was just putting it on the table that perhaps if this project is approved, with the thought in mind that we want this to be a standout project from its appearance. I mean, the sign with "Welcome to Laurel" and all of the things that Mr. DeVito mentioned in his presentation are great. That area, as you well know, that area, as you well know, is an area that'll have hotels, fairly moderately priced or upscaled apartments, et cetera. So certainly anything that is going to, in my mind, be developed in that area should complement the area, not sort of, placed there because this is what we're building at the time.
Again, I think this will be a excellent looking facility and a welcome addition to the city of Laurel from an architectural perspective. The stone and the hardy board, and then you have to put on the canopy, put stone around the canopy. You don't find that on Route 1 in the older facilities. You won't find that on some of the older Royal Farms. This is the latest and greatest, and we do spend quite a bit. And again, we'd be willing to work with it, with changing a color or so to maybe make it blend into the apartments better, or if there's something Laurel was looking for, we'd be happy to consider that. But we'd like to try to eliminate change orders if we can.
That's what I'm asking. I'm asking really for flexibility, and you've expressed that to a limit, obviously, or to a point, you're willing to be reasonably flexible.
Right. So we want it to blend in with Laurel. We want it to look like a Royal Farms. Mm-hmm. And if there's some dialogue we can have, we would be happy to do it.
But again, it's up to the commissioners. That's just my opinion.
This is the Royal Farms that we do in every area. So this is with Laurel, if we did something in Potomac, Bethesda, Hunt Valley, or anywhere else, this is not the Laurel version, or this is the best version we have.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question about the sign. So the 25-foot sign, I'm trying to understand the need for that. I mean, you're not going to be able to see that sign from 95. You're really not going to see it from Conti Road. It's on the back side. If you're on Conti as it flies across the new area, you're not going to see that sign.
Well, it's really one, the sign's going to, and Tim can address this too, the sign where the location I believe is being proposed is actually going to be sort of down on the site. That's another reason why the extra height is needed. And really the road network, maybe not the 95 road network, but that's a very highly traveled intersection just right there off the site. So the extra height's actually needed even there just because of the distance between the roads. Like, for example, the grassy area between the site boundary and the intersection alone probably warrants the extra height just for that reason alone.
Plus, we also got to go over the city of Laurel, welcome to the city of Laurel.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it's more like you'd put on Route 1. That kind of sign. Look, that's a Route 1 sign.
Well, and actually what Tim just pointed out too is the state did a bunch of forest conservation in that area as well, which is another reason why we need the extra height, because when those trees grow up, you're not going to see it.
Yeah, but I mean, this Royal Farms is going to serve this part of the community. People that go there are going to know it's there.
Well, yes, and not necessarily. I mean, it's going to be a sign on the highway, presumably on 95, for people coming off 95 to come in and out. And actually, that's one of the benefits is because it's in this area of the city, is people aren't going to be driving all the way through the city to get to the gas station. They're going to be able to go and get back out.
I just don't think it's really fitting for this. I mean, we're gonna now have a whole new development going, into the Conterra. We're only the corner of it. I get that, but this just to me, this is not the kind of sign you'd see in a office park type area in Columbia or any of those other kind of things. I mean, this just seems to be out of character to me.
What, is this your standard sign though?
It is our standard sign, right. 4 prices.
Is there a lower sign that would work? This is 4 times a person's height. This is going to be a big honking sign.
So our standard sign is 25 feet. And then people make decisions on fuel prices. They want to be able to see it. They don't want to be able to.
Yeah, I use the internet. It takes me to the cheapest place.
We're in 170 stores, and signage is very important to us. Nobody likes buying gas or fuel, and so you want to make sure you're conveniently located and you have good visibility.
I can support everything else, but this sign to me seems out of character for this part of the area. I just think it's unnecessary to have a sign that tall. I don't know how the rest of the commission feels about it.
Mr. Well.
I agree. I agree with Councilman Smalls and with Commissioner Rick Wilson that the sign, well, first of all, the building itself, I kind of like the building, Councilman. If there were, I haven't seen the others on Google. If we had a display of all of them, I might pick another one that I like better than this one. But I was kind of impressed with this one, with the materials and the cupola and the little metal awning and everything. It kind of, and the stone foundation around with the columns. I liked all of that. There might be something that looks better, and we've done this before with other places that we've, wanted not the cookie cutter, same old one that you see in every town. We want something that's going to be a little different. But I don't know, I don't have anything in mind to do to this present representation of it here that would make it any better in my mind, but having that option maybe later before it goes into construction of them being willing to change a color or a material, that's great. But the sign, I agree. I don't like the size of the sign. 25 feet seems like a lot of sign. If that could be scaled down, I agree with Mr. Wilson.
Yes, sir.
On the sign comment, because I had my folks back here chatting while we were going to get a better sense of it. And I think Tim Longfellow, who's a civil engineer, might have a better explanation to why the extra height might be needed, and it has to do with how the site lays out. If you could just tell
For the record, Tim Longfellow, 50-foot Waiver. The grade from Van Dusen Road down the site, as you guys know, the topography falls away from Van Dusen Road. And part of the grade change there is it's between 4 and 5 feet from Van Dusen Road down to the grade at the base of the sign. So that was another one of the factors in asking for the increase, the extra 5 feet, is to try to make up for that grade change. And then Eric cited some other things with regard to the curvature in the road and the distance setback from Conterra as well. So topography was one of the other considerations.
Yeah.
And if I could add one other point too, and Jeff basically just was, he was looking at it if it would help too, he suggested maybe putting stone around the base of the sign too to improve the appearance of it, in exchange for, the height is very important to them, and then they would be willing to possibly dress it up a little bit to
This is the one in Laurel.
As opposed to two poles holding up the sign.
Yeah, I mean, they're 5 feet over our ordinance.
That is correct. They're 5 feet over. The highest you can go for a freestanding pylon sign is 20 feet in height.
I just think this is going to look like something that belongs on Route 1. Yeah. So, I can't approve the, at least, we all get a vote, but I can't approve the extra 5 feet. So. It's just too tall. How tall's the building in elevation? Not the
What?
crown. That's not 25. That's not 25 feet.
The peak.
Not the peak. The mass of the building
We'll get that for sure.
I think it's,
to the top of the cupola. What's the basic part of the building? The horizontal part of the building. It's probably 20 feet.
32, yeah, I read that.
How tall's the cover over top of the gas pumps?
That should be about 20 feet.
I think that's the limit. What's the depression level in the hole you're in from the grade level of the building? If that's 5 feet, I'll buy it, but I don't think that's 5 feet.
I thought he said it was 294 to 290, right? And that's 4 feet.
We're going to have to do each one of these separate.
Right.
Okay, when we come to that one about the building, approving it.
That's the last one.
Like, approving the building, not the sign.
Oh. Which one's the building? We can just say work with staff.
Can we work with staff if we want to change the colors?
Just have staff do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, the grades are from 294 at the road down to 294 feet.
So at the road, it's 294, then it drops to 290 into wherever the pylons are going to go, and then where's the flat part of the base of the building?
Base of the building,
290.
so we're sloping the whole way down through the whole site.
4 feet below the
The
road.
side entry and then from Anderson's Way are going down.
It does
Basically
drop
get the
off.
flat area of the site.
Okay.
I mean, it drops, it drops 20 feet probably across the site, I think, from the road.
There's also not really another location within the site we can put a sign, because we're going to be off property in the SHU.
Some of the constraints here is that with what the state took for their project, we're set back off of Van Dusen, and we're set significantly back from Conterra. So, most of, I presume, correct me if I'm wrong, but most of the traffic we believe is going to be redirected off of Van Dusen onto Conti. So there's going to be a lot of traffic out there on Conterra, and that's really what's trying to be captured with the higher sign. So once Conti's
The
operating-
traffic on the Conterra Drive,
Right, because
coming off of 95 or trying to get to 95,
right.
coming through town
Right,
from the
Van Dusen's
hospital.
heavily traveled there now, and everybody that we speak with, P2 County, PPWT, et cetera, they're expecting a lot of that traffic, rather than diverting from Conterra onto Van Dusen, that they're probably going to go down and use Conti as they're heading down to Route 1, once that's all completed and opened up. So a lot of that traffic that's now coming right by the site, to your earlier point, that they're going to know it's right there, we imagine it's going to be more passing by, and I don't know if that's what you guys have on it as well. It's just, it's going to be redirected.
Okay, so you're in a 4-foot hole?
We're also 35 feet off the roof.
Yeah.
Looks like this.
And the roof of the pumps is
It's like
19 feet up from the
all right,
grade.
so it's going to sit up about 5 feet. Well, it's not really. It's going to sit up about a foot above that.
Right, we're in I think about the 2.9.
It's not going to tower over the building, is what it looks like from your.
No.
From
The
your
canopy is like 19 feet.
It's going to be lower than the
all right.
The canopy's 19 feet.
So if we can put some rocks around it and that kind of stuff, make it look nice, then I guess I was thinking this thing's going to tower over the building.
The pole is kind of.
I didn't want it to look like Truck World.
No, this is a nice building and such, and the pole looks very Route 40-ish, so let us improve that a bit with some stone base or so.
Okay.
We can have.
All right.
If you can help us
No.
out, 25 feet.
Yeah. Okay. I'm a kid that grew up next to Interstate 80. All right. So we got to do these. Got any other questions?
Is there any other questions? Is there anybody else that would like to speak? Mr. DePietro,
Sir,
did you have anything to say?
I was going to, but I think we're back at 25 feet on the side, so I'm a little more comfortable.
Yeah, I'm okay with it. Bill, you okay with that? Yeah. All right. Mr. Chairman, with Mr. Smalls' recommendation to allow some leeway to work with staff for some of the potential adjustments on fit and finish, if you let me call it that, that will be on, which one of these does that go into? Of the three. I know we're going to talk about the sign on number 6, but
We want to talk about the building.
the building is on 4 or 5.
That will go under the special exception because it's only contingent, the approval is only contingent on the special exception application, so we'll put it on there.
Okay, so let me make a motion to approve. Well, I'm sorry, you got to open up a public hearing. I can't make a motion.
It's now 7:45. The public hearing is open. I have nobody signed up for that. So it's now 7:45. Public hearing is closed.
Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the final plan, MXT application number 870, and resolution 17-03-PC for 6901 Van Dusen Road as filed by the applicant. And that's the application and the resolution.
Do I have a second?
The motion.
Thank you.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Welford?
Yes.
Chairman Kish?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Speaking of Route 40, I just looked at all those Royal Farms that Mr. Fred there had on his laptop. I have an office that I go to very seldom, probably 4 times a year, and I'm on Route 40. There are 6 or 7 Royal Farms within a 7 Mile
Yeah, they've gotten popular.
radio, and I like them. I have one other question. Is the chicken going to be as good as this one out here? I'm not supposed to have it, but
Chicken here would be phenomenal.
that's even better.
Mr.
Okay.
Chairman, I'll make a motion to recommend approval to the Board of Appeals for special exception 871 at 6901 Van Dusen Road, the Laurel Farms gas station, filed by the applicant with the following adjustment, is that to direct the applicant to work with staff to try to make the fit and finish of the building as nice as we can make it for Laurel, and we'll rely on staff's judgment for that.
Do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Walford?
Yes.
Chairman Kish?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion on the sign waiver application to approve the sign waiver application and resolution 17-04-PC, Laurel Farms Gas Station, 6901 Van Dusen Road, as filed by the applicant. So this is the application and resolution, and with the one change, which is to adjust the pylon sign such that there's some enclosure work around the base of it.
I'll second the motion.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mr. Walford?
Yes.
Chairman Kish?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Good luck, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
With that, any other business?
No, sir.
Nothing?
Any word on our raise?
How about overtime?
You have to talk to the mayor
for the
about
last month?
It didn't make it.
It didn't make it. We'll have to go on
adjourn.
strike.
Thank you, guys. Yep.